Jason lost his memory, forgot I was his mistress, and gave me breakup money. I touched my pregnant belly. Thrilled, money. A kid. No more pleasing him. We kept bumping at prenatal checks, his gaze sharpened. Fearing he'd recall. I planned to flee. Then he stepped up. May I be this child's father? Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. I used to be Jason's carefully curated indulgence, beautiful, obedient, and perfectly compatible between the sheets. That's why the famously celibate heir shocked Manhattan society by keeping me for 3 years. Just as rumors swirled about him being in love, his Lamborghini crashed. And when he woke up, the bastard remembered everyone except me. Damn him! Is this amnesia act just to dodge the breakup payout? I fumed silently while listening to Will, his executive assistant, deliver the verdict over speakerphone. Miss Ivy, Will tactfully explained. Post-accident Jason finds his past behavior of keeping a mistress unbecoming. He denies any emotional attachment and requests your immediate relocation from the Hampton estate. My chest tightened. The Hampton mansion wasn't just some gilded cage. ID personalized every corner with blush pink drapery and planted sunflower fields in the gardens. Still, I prepared to leave empty-handed until my phone buzzed. 7 digits flashed across my banking app. Fireworks of joy exploded in my mind. Pop, 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 as I barely contained my grin. Don't worry, I chirped. I'll vanish before sunset. Jason won't see me again. This was beyond perfect. A fortune. A genius-level baby brewing in my womb. And no more nightly mans to fulfill? Jackpot. Oh right, the pregnancy. I'd discovered it weeks ago, when I'd cautiously asked Jason about kids during pillow talk. He'd grimaced. Can't stand them. Noisy little parasites. He glanced at me and frowned. You want a baby now? His expression was deadly serious. As if one wrong answer would send me packing. How could I possibly tell him about the pregnancy? I shook my head vehemently. No titles. No commitments. I thought my answer perfectly conveyed Jason's nostalgic sentiments. But Jason suddenly went berserk like he'd eaten bad shrooms. What exactly is this relationship to you? You don't want children with me? Frustrated by his terrible reading comprehension, I secretly flashed a 6 sign behind his back. Yes. The bastard threw me onto the bed again. Thankfully our resilient little bean survived his father's jackhammer routine all night. This only strengthened my resolve. So when Jason lost his memory and kicked me out, hell yeah, I took the money and ran. I had Will process the property transfer that same day, moving into my new nest before sunset. My pregnancy routine became pure bliss: morning walks, cooking, freelance art commissions, evenings spent reading, streaming music, and thirst-tapping every hot TikToker. This beat being Jason's caged songbird any day. Remember when that psycho threatened to fuck me every time I liked a guy's video? Don't get me wrong. The sex was phenomenal. But my lower back couldn't handle that frequency. I used to sneak views like some porn addict. Now, I'm the queen of swipe right living, crushing on 108 hotties daily, spamming hearts until my screen turns crimson. Every new video brings fresh husband material. Well fed, well rested, living my best life. Time flew until my first prenatal appointment. Butterflies filled me at meeting my lentil-sized miracle. I ignored the tiny knot of anxiety. What could go wrong? Never imagined I'd see Jason at that suburban clinic. There he stood in hospital blues among the crowd, bandaged head shorn to bristle. The buzz cut only sharpened those lethal cheekbones. When his gaze swept past, I ducked my head, skin burning under his phantom stare. The Miller heir in a 4-ring medical center? Unthinkable. If the car accident victim isn't being treated at a private hospital, they should have taken him to a top-tier class of public hospital. What's with sending him to some mediocre 4th-ring public hospital? I was cursing internally when the gaze above my head shifted away. Carefully peeking up, Jason's retreating figure had already vanished into the crowd. I patted my chest and exhaled sharply. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. He's amnesiac, he's forgotten me. So being seen by him doesn't matter. To him now. I'm just a stranger. Repeating this reassurance, I headed toward the obstetrics department. In 2025, there weren't many expectant mothers here for prenatal checkups. Taking a number and waiting for my turn was quick. The examination itself went smoothly. When the doctor handed me the ultrasound printout and confirmed the baby's health, I trembled with nervous excitement. This little life had reconnected me to the primal bond of kinship after losing my family. He was my miracle in this world. Even unborn. How could I not love him? Not keep him? I was blissfully studying the grainy image. Brainstorming preservation methods, lamination. A nice frame. Maybe, oof. A hurried passerby collided with me before I could dodge. As I teetered dangerously, a muscular arm shot out to steady my waist, righting me before instantly withdrawing. My ultrasound photo fluttered to the floor. I clutched my stomach, heart racing, as the offender tossed a half-hearted apology over their shoulder while sprinting away, muttering silent curses. I bent to retrieve the precious printout, brushing off imaginary dust. I turned to thank my rescuer and froze. Jason was staring at the ultrasound image in my hand. Those sharp brows, hawk-like eyes, and aristocratic nose confirmed it. The man who just saved my baby was Jason. My mouth hung open, the thank you-ing in my throat. His gaze flicked between me and the ultrasound, his usual ice prince demeanor hardening into permafrost. Panic surged. What if he remembered? What if he forced an abortion? Or took the child and erased me? Blurting without thinking, I choked out, "The baby isn't yours." Instant regret flooded me. He's amnesiac. You idiot, now you've confessed. Forcing a laugh, I backpedaled, haha. Just kidding. The lies tumbled faster as Jason's face darkened storm-cloud gray. Finally. He couldn't stand my constant nagging about the Miller family lineage like some broken record. Without uttering a word, he turned and walked away coldly. Holy crap. That was intense. I need to switch hospitals for my next prenatal checkup. I patted my chest, watching his retreating figure disappear. 4 days afterward, I stayed home nervously. Will called once to ask if I still wanted the pink teddy bear in the bedroom. That was the only contact I had regarding Jason. Relieved, I gradually returned to my peaceful pregnancy routine. When my next checkup arrived, I chose the city's most prestigious hospital. Strolling leisurely toward the building, I thought, there's no way Jason would transfer from that fourth-ring hospital to this one. The universe proved me wrong. Hospital lobby. There stood Jason in the distance. My jaw dropped. The man had radar-like perception. His head snapped toward me instantly, brows furrowing. He probably wondered why I'd switched hospitals last minute. Who changes prenatal care providers on a whim? Damn cosmic joke. Had I known he'd be here? His prolonged stare became unbearable. I waved awkwardly. Fancy meeting you here. Handsome. Here for your checkup too, I mean. Medication refill? Amnesiac Jason had terrible manners. He gave me frosty side-eye before walking away like we were strangers. Back when I was his kept woman, he'd have kissed my forehead in public without hesitation. Now, pfft. I stuck my tongue out at his back before darting to obstetrics. The ultrasound went smoothly. I got my baby's second ever photo. Every mother sees her child through rose-tinted glasses. I found a bench to properly admire the tiny bean. So perfect I couldn't look away. Until someone collapsed dramatically at my feet. I jumped up startled. Sir? Are you okay? Rolling the man over to prevent suffocation, I found myself face to face with Jason's stupidly handsome features. Seriously? Again? His bruised forehead stopped me from fleeing. After flagging down nurses, we wheeled him to ER, slipping out quietly afterward. I vowed, next time, I'm picking a different hospital entirely. This time, there's no way we'll cross paths again. If we do, ugh. I refuse to be that unlucky. Muttering to myself, I headed toward the parking lot. But before even exiting the clinic building, I ran into someone I shouldn't have seen. In the lobby, Will and I stared at each other awkwardly. Remembering my previous promise, I immediately raised 2 fingers in oath. I swear I'm not trying to stalk Jason. I came to the hospital for a cold. Definitely not to ambush him. Will remained silent for a long moment before replying quietly. Jason's hospital visit today was unplanned. I know you're not that kind of person. He paused. Expression conflicted. But, thank you for saving him earlier. Relieved. I waved it off. Don't mention it. This is a hospital someone else would have helped if I hadn't. Never good at small talk. I turned to leave after saying goodbye. Ivy. Will called out hesitantly. Maybe you should meet with Jason. He doubts your past relationship because he hasn't seen you yet. Perhaps. Oh hell no. We've met multiple times already. Useless. Jason genuinely forgot me. Plus, pregnant women shouldn't linger near their baby daddies. If he regains memories and rejects our child, not even floodwaters of tears could fix that. Hard pass. I refused immediately. Gathering my thoughts, I lectured him like a wise elder. Will. Jason explicitly banned me from his sight. How could you betray his orders for our flimsy acquaintance? So don't you dare mention me to Jason. That night after my prenatal checkup, I listed my apartment with realtors immediately. Better safe than sorry. Running into amnesiac Jason during appointments was manageable, but being spotted by his informed assistant? Catastrophic. If Will discovered my pregnancy, he'd 99% report to Jason. Pre-amnesia Jason hated kids. Post-amnesia Jason would detest them more. My baby and I would be 99.9% doomed. Beijing's my hometown. Leaving felt unbearable. The solution? Move somewhere far from Jason's usual haunts. Switch hospitals too. This time, I won't encounter him. 3rd prenatal checkup. Damn it all to hell. I saw Jason again. In the clinic lobby. He stood by the entrance in tailored suits like attending a billion-dollar merger. The shaved hair from his injury now brushed his ears, restoring his pre-car accident appearance. Yet his aura turned Arctic perpetual glaciers in human form. Those obsidian eyes pinned me in place like a specimen, frozen a few yards away. I cursed my rotten luck while contemplating international relocation. Even if he remembers everything and comes looking for me overseas, it won't be easy to find me. The more I thought about it, the more feasible this plan seemed. Though leaving home would be tough, it'd be worth it for the baby. If I really missed home, I could always return when the child was older. Having settled this, I finally relaxed. When I looked at Jason again, the fear had mostly faded. I even smiled up at him. That's when I saw him take a deep breath and stride toward me. After all our coincidental meetings, this was the first time he spoke directly. Any man who skips his wife's prenatal appointments isn't worth keeping. But children shouldn't grow up without a father's presence. What I mean is, I've fallen for you at first sight. May I ask, could I become your child's father? I blinked, certain I'd misheard. Jason lowered his gaze, his usual aloofness tinged with unexpected shyness. Ms. Ivy, I don't mind that the baby isn't biologically mine. I'll treat them as my own. Silence. Then stunned disbelief. My emotions tangled, equal parts baffled by Jason's sudden madness and irritated. Hadn't he always claimed to dislike children? So he just enjoyed playing stepdad rather than having his own? How laughable. I rolled my eyes dramatically. My child already has a father. Why would we need you? Jason's expression darkened momentarily before hardening with resolve. What kind of father skips prenatal appointments? If he's unfit, are you any better? Absolutely. Prove it. Wire me $50,000 right now. Jason looked down. Jason transferred the money. Then came the soulful gaze. I'm extremely wealthy. I'd make an excellent husband and father to your child. I stared numbly at the $100,000 now in my bank account. Before I could respond, Will's shocked gasp cut through the air. The assistant gaped at us. Are you two role-playing something? This wasn't a game. His boss had simply decided to become a homewrecker. 3 different hospitals for 3 checkups. 3 times running into Jason. When coincidence becomes inevitability, you stop fighting it. I surrendered. Agreed to go home with Jason. Let him have his chance at being the other man. Will gripped the steering wheel, asking flatly, heading to Sunnycrest Manor? I answered matter-of-factly, right. Jason protested vehemently, no way. I gave him a sidelong glance, why not? You got another woman stashed there? Jason froze momentarily before mumbling. Shouldn't be anymore. Shouldn't be anymore. Seriously. What kind of answer is that? His voice trailed off as he rambled, well, I had this car accident recently. Lost some memories. Will said I used to have a girlfriend but I can't remember her at all. I swear I feel nothing for her. Already sent her packing. Now it's you I love. From the moment I saw you, I knew we were meant to be. Oh. So you've completely forgotten about me. I kept my expression neutral as he poured out his devotion. Will, the highly educated assistant, looked utterly bewildered, shooting me furtive glances. He desperately tried signaling Jason. You must remember her. Jason's brain short-circuited, missing the cues entirely. Don't recall a thing, he declared resolutely before turning lovesick eyes on me. You're the one I want. I don't care that you're married or carrying another man's child. Let's get married. Oh. When are you divorcing that ex-husband of yours anyway? The car swerved into an S-curve as Will gripped the wheel. I glared icily at Jason through clenched teeth, depends on your performance. Forget me and still want to be my homewrecker? Jason. You've really outdone yourself. At the mansion, I privately texted Will, pretend you don't know me. Not a word about me being Jason's kept woman. The assistant shot Jason a pitying look, nodded, and fled sweating bullets. I strutted into the estate. Grace pruning flowers in the yard brightened upon seeing me. Peeking at Jason's expression, she whispered, Ivy. You and Mr. Miller made up? I nodded conspiratorially, yes. But his post-accident memories are scrambled. Thinks I'm someone's wife. We're just role-playing. Okay? Grace lit up with understanding. Oh. You kids are into that, what's it called? Play pretend? Exactly. I grinned, throwing a glance at clueless Jason behind us. My smile turned devious. Marching to the second-floor bedroom, I changed into a nightgown. Jason stood waiting at the doorway, eyes lighting up when I emerged. That's stunning. My people delivered the clothes already? I twirled the skirt. Your former mistress's wardrobe. Of course it's nice. Jason's already pale face turned ashen. I narrowed my eyes. Don't want me to wear it? Jason shook his head hurriedly. No. I leaned in to kiss his lips, chasing his gaze with a playful smile. Good. My fingers toyed with his collar. Aren't you the one who's been scheming to take your place as my husband? Why so reserved now? Jason's ears flushed red as he turned away. Eyelids fluttering. That has to wait until after your divorce. My slender fingers traced his Adam's apple. But you're already acting like we're. Before I could finish, Jason, eyes darkening, swept me up into his arms and carried me to the bedroom, laying me down on silky Egyptian cotton sheets. He lowered himself to kiss me, gaze smoldering with barely restrained hunger, face etched with guilt and conflict. Yet his hands kept moving, stripping away barriers with single-minded determination. I'd only meant to tease. But pregnancy hormones left me too easily aroused. By the time his lips found that sensitive spot below my ear, rational thought had dissolved into warm honey. Mindful of my belly, he held back from being too rough. Instead, he took me with slow, deliberate strokes that stretched each second into exquisite torture. When I finally begged him to hurry, he nipped at my collarbone. "Who are you begging right now?" Fed up with the teasing, I slapped him hard. He accelerated his movements, eyes burning crimson. "Why won't you say it?" "Husband?" Jason froze mid-thrust, biting my finger fiercely. "Don't think about him now. You're getting divorced." The renewed frenzy of his hips contradicted his icy tone. Post-amnesia Jason turned out thirstier than a soap opera villain. I closed my eyes, torn between laughter and the building pressure in my core. I woke up late the next morning to find Jason directing movers to clear out my walk-in closet. "What the hell are you doing with my things?" I snapped. "These gaudy decorations don't suit the Miller family's status," Jason stated with icy composure, as if discussing stock portfolios. Rage turned my vision red. These were my curated designer pieces collected over years. "Since when do you care about interior design?" Since realizing how tacky. My smile turned lethal. "Let me guess, your ex-mistress prefers minimalist beige?" The color drained from Jason's face. "And no. I mean, that is. Save it." I stalked toward him, stiletto heels clicking like gunshots. "You want to redecorate? Fine. But every hideous vase you install better come with divorce papers." His Adam's apple bobbed. For the first time since the accident, Jason looked properly afraid. I'd been waiting for him to say those exact words. I deftly pulled out a black suit with lace trim from the walk-in closet and tossed it to Jason. "Darling, I knew you'd love this. Hurry up and change for work." "Not really. Should dress more formally for the office." "What's informal about a black suit with lace accents?" Jason's face remained impassive as he reluctantly accepted the garment. He'd always hated my interior design choices for the mansion. Last time, I'd practically thrown out my back defending these very lace trimmings during renovations. Now, with his amnesia, he seemed convinced someone else had taken over his life. The moment he regained consciousness, he tried to have everything ripped out. Over my dead body. Even if he were a different person now, he'd still wear those lace-trimmed suits. At the breakfast table, I slowly savored the nourishing porridge Grace had prepared. Jason kept fidgeting with the lace cuffs, his stoic facade cracking as he muttered, "Do I really have to wear this?" I swallowed my mouthful before drawling, "Suit yourself." I was planning to discuss the divorce with Will today, but suddenly I'm not in the mood anymore. "No. I'll wear it. Let me accompany you to negotiate the settlement." Desperation colored his voice at the mention of potentially replacing his rival. I shot him a withering look. "Accompany me? Since when do homewreckers flaunt themselves so brazenly? Have you no shame?" The once majestic silver lion shriveled into a quail, though he managed to grumble, "It's not my fault I met you later than he did." "Ah yes. Clearly this is my husband's failing." My finger jabbed the air accusingly at this paragon of moral decay masquerading as some untouchable ice prince. "Perhaps we could compensate him more generously?" I nearly choked on my tea. "We certainly should. My dear husband adores me beyond reason." That afternoon, dear husband received an astronomical bank transfer from Will. The assistant's voice dripped with resignation during our call. "Ms. Wilson, when Mr. Miller regains his memory, he might not punish you, but I'll be the one getting skinned alive. If he fires you, just sell his embarrassing amnesia-era blackmail material to competitors." I advised cheerfully. Will perked up immediately. "Brilliant." I added insurance, "Besides, this is simply part of our marital role-play scenario. You're completely uninvolved." Having Will in my pocket proved useful. I received instant alerts whenever Jason left the office. At the cafe, I ordered an extra espresso. Soon enough, I spotted a familiar figure skulking behind potted ferns. No wonder he'd been so squirrely when asking for the meeting location this morning. I'd assumed he'd given up after leaving for work. Right on cue, my hired actor Will launched into his performance, dramatically clutching his chest. "Where's that homewrecker? How dare he seduce you into considering divorce?" Ivy sat behind Will with a solemn expression, eager to hear the explanation. "He's handsome and rich." The smile blooming on Jason's face behind Will made me instantly regret fueling his ego. Seizing Will's sleeve impulsively, I ad-libbed, "Honey, I still have feelings for you. What if I steal his money to support you?" Will proved quick on his feet. "Sounds perfect." He chuckled, playing along. My peripheral vision caught the uncharacteristic flush spreading across the aloof Jason's face. My laughter held bitterness. Running away wasn't solely about fearing Jason might pressure me into terminating the pregnancy. Even if I insisted on keeping the baby, he wouldn't truly stop me. The core issue was simpler yet more devastating. Jason didn't love me enough. Our timing had been catastrophically wrong from the start. When my father's business collapsed amid terminal illness, I inherited $8 million in debts along with hounding creditors and unpaid employees. Selling every asset still left me $800,000 short. That's how I became indebted to Jason. Job hunting proved brutal. 4,000 RMB monthly barely covered survival, let alone debt payments. Desperation drove me to beg Jason for employment, offering to repay through salary deductions. His mocking laugh still stung. "My assistant Will," he gestured, "earns $2 million annually as a finance graduate from University of Chicago. With comparable credentials, you might clear debts in 5 years. So Ivy, what's your degree?" My digital media arts diploma from a prestigious university crumbled to dust under his scrutiny. Yet that night, Will notified me to report for duty as Jason's executive assistant, $8,000 monthly salary with $5,000 deducted. My calculator spat out the repayment timeline, 1,333 years. Just 33 lifetimes. Really? I sobbed myself to sleep mourning my indentured future. Yet showed up punctually next morning. For 3 months, I navigated Jason's exacting demands until spiked drinks obliterated professional boundaries. When morning after protocols included Will arranging my relocation, our strictly transactional relationship permanently derailed. I obediently handed in my resignation letter. That's why I could never fully trust Jason's affection, even when he treated me exceptionally well afterwards. Falling in love with Jason made me insecure. While I do appreciate lace trimmings, I don't need them covering every surface. What truly captivates me is that subtle furrow between Jason's brows when he reluctantly indulges my whims. He never denies treating me specially, and I'm certain I occupy space in his heart. Yet the inherent imbalance in our relationship always stuck in my throat like fishbone. When he claimed to dislike children, panic would grip me. I feared losing his affection if he discovered my pregnancy, the core reason I left after his memory loss. Never did I anticipate he'd sink so low morally, developing feelings for someone he believed to be a married woman. The silver lining? At least I needn't worry about him rejecting our child anymore. The downside? Now I question his entire moral compass. The ethically compromised Jason didn't return home after work. Will reported him working late, though mysterious boiling kettle noises kept echoing from his office. I've always known Jason's prim facade publicly playing the unattainable ice prince, privately weepy and vulnerable. Usually he waits until I'm asleep to clutch me while silently crying. This public meltdown was unprecedented. Guilt nibbled at me. Had I taken the charade too far? Maybe I'd reveal the truth in a couple days. At 1 o'clock in the morning, Jason crept home after showering. He slid into bed, arms encircling my waist, tears immediately dampening my neck. "You still love him, don't you?" he accused between sniffles. Just because he knew you slightly earlier, how could you choose him? His weeping escalated. You're using my money to raise him. Fine. Keep him if you must. But you can't love him. And the baby, I'm the only father it will ever know. When his dramatics peaked, I rolled over and slapped his chest. Keep it down. You're disturbing me. The idiot seized my hand, planting sloppy kisses. Wife smells heavenly, he murmured, tears magically ceasing as his touches grew increasingly inappropriate. Feeling his damp fingers wandering, I reconsidered maybe the crying was preferable. My days at Shunjing Bay passed peacefully. Between watching attractive men's workout videos and tormenting Jason, life felt perfectly content. Until one day, I randomly decided to look through the gifts Jason had previously given me. I found a small velvet box containing a diamond ring with a platinum band and brilliant cut stone. Though simple in design, it was exactly my style. With trembling hands, I slid it onto my ring finger. The fit was perfect, as though custom-made for me. Holding the ring up to the light, I spotted tiny engravings along the inner band, XYCYS, my initials being Ivy. Was this a proposal ring? Clutching the box, I rushed downstairs to the kitchen where Grace was cooking. Aunt Grace, when did this box appear in my keepsake room? The older woman glanced up from her simmering soup. Found it under your shoe rack the day you moved out. Figured it was another present from Jason. So I put it with your other gifts. My throat tightened as adrenaline surged. I immediately called Will. Was Jason planning to propose before his accident? When he confirmed, I dissolved into tearful laughter. We'd been this close to getting married. After hearing my emotional outburst, Will added quietly. He'd even consulted fertility specialists while working out. Knowing how much you wanted children, you were in every version of his future before the amnesia. The assistant continued, voice firm, after the accident when he told you to leave. I only enforced moving you out of Pinecrest Estates, couldn't bear to separate you completely. Don't ever doubt his love. Even when his memories were gone, he still fell for you again, even believing you were married. Hanging up, I sat motionless for hours, elated yet heartbroken. Jason had always embraced my imperfections without complaint. Yet I'd struggled to trust him fully. If love required walking 100 steps, I'd eternally linger one stride behind. That evening, I texted Jason to come home early. He misunderstood the intention. I fell asleep waiting, only to be awakened by choked sobs near midnight. Wifey, he hiccuped, tear-streaked face glowing in the bedside lamplight. Did you call me back to dump me? Don't want my money for Will anymore? His shoulders shook with renewed weeping. Can't leave you. Felt so safe since first seeing you at the hospital. Wanna stay together forever. I cradled his damp cheeks. We will. Always. Jason froze mid-sniffle. With dramatic wrist flourish, he wiped his face and instantly regained composure. No, Will. The demand came out raspy yet firm. No, Will. I agreed, smiling through fresh tears. Just you. As we embraced, I began recounting our story, the real one. Page by page, kiss by kiss. I also showed him our photos. Jason stared at me with skepticism. Really? Absolutely. Ask Will if you don't believe me. He nodded. That night, we fell asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, Will called. Mr. Miller asked if you were the canary he kept before. I confirmed it, but he kept giving me this weird look. What exactly did you tell him last night? I truthfully recounted everything. Soon I discovered Jason's twisted logic when I found his anonymous forum post titled, "My wife and my assistant are conspiring to lie. Should I expose them?" I'm guilty. I fell for a married pregnant woman and made her my wife. Now she claims to be my former mistress. I lost memories from a car accident. My assistant says I kept a canary back then, and that the baby's mine. She even photoshopped couple photos of us doing heart gestures I'd never do. When I confronted my assistant, his story matched hers. Not actually planning to expose them. Just need advice on how to convince my wife I believe her lies. The comment section exploded with criticism. I nearly choked seeing this. My guilt from last night evaporated instantly. Truth? Screw that. Let him keep thinking I'm his mistress. When Jason returned that evening, I taunted, "My will always enters with his left foot first." Not like some people. He glared silently. My will actually smiles. Unlike some grumpy icebergs. I continued mockingly. His forced smile looked painfully stiff. Ugh. My will smile could light up rooms. Yours looks like constipation. I sneered before he abruptly turned off the lights. Suddenly his lips crashed against mine with frenzied desperation. Stop saying his name. He growled between bruising kisses. Voice cracking. Don't mention him. I hate him. The usually composed executive completely shattered that night. Tears streaming down his face as we moved together. I might have shed a few tears too for entirely different reasons. Served him right for doubting me. We got married the next morning. 5 months later, our daughter arrived. A year after that, I overheard Jason whispering during her speech practice, "Remember, sweetheart, I'm your real daddy. Don't listen to any rumors." I elbowed him hard. Oh my God. When will he ever regain his memory? It was the year our child turned 3. One night, I accidentally mentioned Will Smith would already become an Oscar-winning actor. Jason completely lost it. He threw a tantrum all night before finally calming down. When I woke up, he was leaning against the headboard, staring at me without blinking. Still half asleep. I tilted my head up to kiss his cheek and mumbled a complaint. Jason immediately clamped a hand over my mouth. His voice flustered, "I know. Stop talking." Normally, I'd have to reassure him multiple times before he'd settle down. But today's reaction was different. My eyes flew open to see Jason's flushed face. Lips pressed into a tight line. A sudden realization hit me. Will from the phone call must have briefed him about how post-amnesia Jason should handle me. Seriously? Jason glared at me angrily. Ha. Bingo. I sat up and wrapped my arms around his waist. Grinning mischievously, "Mind if I become your child's father? Does this line sound familiar? Honey?" Jason turned his face away stubbornly, refusing to make eye contact. I kept circling around to stay in his line of sight. My smirk growing wider. Gee. I wonder who originally said that. So hard to guess. Jason was turning as red as a steamed lobster. My laughter exploded like 80 parrots squawking in unison. Ha 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 ha. The noise finally got to him. With a growl, he pinned me down on the bed and started nipping at my neck like an overexcited puppy. Ivy. Stop laughing this instant. Outside our window, sunlight streamed through the blinds warm and radiant. Exactly like Jason's love for me. End.